everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 3 of Arcane. My brother that's off in the wings and I are watching this series, and yeah, the first episodes have been really, really good. We're setting up, this is the end of Act 1, so this is a 3-act story, and so we're ending Act 1, and it makes perfect sense. We've set up all of our characters, we've got our conflict set up, we have this villainous character that has Deckard turned him into a monster and has sent him on his merry way to probably wreak havoc and run amok and cause destruction. And then we got introduced to Jayce last episode. Jayce and Viktor got their dynamic starting to set up as well, along with Heimerdinger, right? Yep. Heimerdinger and Mel and the people of Piltover, and then we're going back to Zahn as poor Vander is trying to keep things together, but it's not looking good. Vander's whole mission of keeping things together is like, it's all crumbling apart, and we have Vi and Powder and the others all trying to figure out what they're going to do in this situation as everything starts to close in and possibly crumble. So, fun times, right? Fun times. So, my brother has watched this series, so he knows what's going to happen. I've told him no spoilers, and he's smiling off here to the side. I know last episode, I was like, don't tell me any episodes to look forward to, anything. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, right? We're a third of the way through after this episode, right? Nothing can go wrong. Everything's going to be fine. He's like over here stone-faced. Everything's fine. It's great. It's the end of Act 1. What can happen, right? So we'll find out, though, but I'm pretty excited to dive into this episode, and then we'll talk about it later. But let's go ahead. Let's not waste any time. So episode 3, the base violence necessary for change. That doesn't sound ominous at all. It doesn't sound ominous at all, right? Okay, but let's dive in, shall we? We're going to start episode 3 of Arcane, and we're going to do that here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So it's the end of Act 1! What was that episode? What was that?
I was showing the result of everything in Act 1 finally falling into where it belongs.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I felt kind of like tonal whiplash because you have like you have on the one hand this horrific breakdown of this found family and the complete destruction of it and the beginnings of two newfound families potentially. Holy crap, we're gonna have to talk about that. So you have all this like insane, dramatic, tense melodrama happening, and then on the other flip side you have Jayce and Viktor on the other side that are just like floating in midair having fun times and adventures. And Heimerdinger's like, so this is the gay agenda.
Zahn's exploding and Jayce and Viktor over here cranking it.
Right? Oh my god. They're like having this, levitating BL ballet over here and while everything's going to shit down in Zahn. Oh man, that was the one thing about this episode is that I get why they had to do it. I get why they had to do that you couldn't have, to finish Act 1, you have to finish Jayce and Viktor's story, the first act of their story, and you have to finish the first act of everybody in Zahn. So I get that you had to put them all together in this episode. It was just funny. It was like a moment to breathe, because you'd be sitting there freaking out about Vander and all of them, and then you'd stop and go back to Jayce and Viktor and be like, okay, take a deep breath. They're fine. They're great. They're precious. We'll go back to them. But, man, so Silco. So our Ratatouille judge is named Silco. See, somebody in the YouTube comments, I put a thing on YouTube saying that I was going to start watching Arcane, and somebody was like, oh, Silco's my favorite character. And I was like, who the hell's Silco? I was like, oh, we've not met them yet. And they're like, yeah, you have. And I was like, don't spoil me, but we haven't met him. And they're like, oh, you'll figure out who it is. And I was like, okay, so now it makes sense. It's Silco is our Ratatouille judge. It all makes sense. He's interesting. The whole metaphor at the beginning where he's talking about what it's like to drown. And I wondered at the beginning if that was him, if it was Vander, because you saw the big beefy arms. I was like, is that Vander fighting him at the beginning? And it was. We just didn't know the context of it.
And now you know why his eye is so messed up.
Yeah.
All that polluted water messing
Yeah, so it makes sense because it made sense when he started talking about it, because they were, they've had the gas masks down underground because the air's not purified. So of course it makes sense the water is basically sludge, so it all gets in there and it infected all of that.
That's why he has to have the injector too.
Oh, it makes sense to keep it all. Gotcha, to keep it all going. He looks so different younger though. It's interesting. And I like the idea he's doing this whole monologue at the beginning talking about the idea of what it's like to drown, that drowning is peaceful, but talking about survival and what you have to do to like claw your way. Yeah, the one question lingers before you as he's like being gagged and there's like blood in the water. Have you had enough? Like where's the breaking point? What do you do when you get to your breaking point? And that idea that some people never get to that point where they're faced with that question, but it'll change you forever if you ever face it. Interesting. And then so he thanks Vander for helping him to get to that point. Interesting. Old friend, established like brothers. So it all makes sense at the end. It makes sense at the end when he takes in Powder. When he takes her in, that when she says she renounces Vi as her sister, he's like, well, you're just like me. You're just like me. Vander and Vi are similar, and you're just like me. I'll take you in. And it's really creepy. Like, he has like his arms around her. It's very creepy. Like, just like welcoming her to the fold. Mm-hmm.
Both of them, they mimic Vi and Powder really well. Vi is obviously, like Vander, really strong, charismatic leader.
Yes.
While Silco is more tactical. He thinks.
Yeah, he's the inventor, like Powder is. So it totally makes sense at the end of this. I'm like, yeah, there's such parallels. And so the ending act, you've got the two newfound families. This found family is destroyed, and you have the two newfound families where you have Marcus takes Vi, so he's probably going to take her to Piltover, I'm assuming, take her away, and then you have Silco taking Powder in with him. Interesting. So yeah, Vander, God, going out like a champ. I figured Vander was going to die because he's the father figure, and if you're going to end Act 1, if you're going to have these characters go a different route, Vander has to go, but God, him just sacrificing so much to save them. And Milo and Clagger. Here's the thing, I thought that Milo and Clagger were going to die, because they're, they just seem like characters that aren't going to... Vi and Powder's one thing. You're like, okay, they seem like main characters. But I was like, Clagger and Milo, they probably won't live. They just had that vibe, right? But I thought it was going to be Deckard that took him out. I thought Deckard was going to get him, or I thought an enforcer was going to get them, or somebody else working for Silco was going to get them. I did not think it was Powder's invention that killed them. And Vi knows it because she saw the reflection of the monkey in the water. Powder was just trying to help, and she messed it. And for once, her invention worked. And the one time it works, it kills Milo and Clagger and basically causes everything to go to hell. Because they could have got out. They had it pretty much secure. They were going to get out. Maybe. I mean, Deckard was almost going to break through the door, but we don't know that, right?
Well, he's about to break through the door, but they would have been able to get outside.
Yeah.
They could easily gang up on him.
Yeah, Clagger had it pretty much broke through. And yeah, the one time, Powder didn't listen. And it's like, and just Vi, God, her taking initiative and all this, oh my gosh. The one thing I didn't like was at the end, there were two things I was kind of a little bit like about. One was that Powder didn't really have a reaction to Vander's death, which she may not have recognized him being the monster. That could have been one thing. She didn't quite recognize Vander. That could have been something too, but she didn't really have a reaction to his death, and I'm like, that's like your father figure. Vi had a reaction, but
she had just gotten slapped, disowned.
But this was before she even got slapped and disowned. That was the other thing. Like, the one thing with Powder is that when she shows up, she looks down at Vander like she doesn't recognize him, and so I was like, okay, well, maybe she doesn't realize it's Vander that's dead at her feet, like her father figure.
Vi was also covering the face,
right? But yeah, she just didn't have much of a reaction to him. And then when Vi runs off, Powder doesn't run after her. I was like, I get, which she's really upset. She's a little kid. She's like a 6-year-old. She doesn't get to run after her, and she doesn't know. I don't think maybe Powder didn't understand like the severity of how serious the situation was. She just like, I did it. Look what I did. And Vi's like, look what you did. I kept thinking that Powder would run after her because she wasn't that far away from her, but she doesn't. She stays, and she But she's a little kid, so I mean, I get it. I get why. I just wish that I was like, you couldn't run after your sisters. And I don't know. But yeah, I kept, like you said, you're like, what would Marcus have done? Like when Deckard showed up. I don't know. But it helps establish, like, Vander's character was going to fight Deckard in this scene where Benzo dies. Like, we're rewatching the episode when Benzo dies. Vander was going to fight him, only got his lights punched out. But Marcus just stands there and is like, I don't know. I think it speaks for Marcus's character. He wasn't going to jump in and fight. He was like, no. And granted, he couldn't do anything. He would have probably been killed because Grayson just got killed. I can't believe Grayson's dead. But yeah, and this wasn't part of the deal. Yeah, Silco not to be trusted.
Oh, he paid him.
Yeah, he paid him. I love the idea of the coins slapping the blood on the ground. So yeah, so this purple stuff's like a drug, because the Deckard guy keeps wanting to drink it. It's like a drug. Get addicted to it. Poor Vander. Vander just used it that one time, and then because he was pretty much at death's door anyway.
It shows that while Piltover's created this hex tech, Zoan is building their own secret weapon. Yeah, well, yeah, both sides have their own. You've got magic versus science, right? Essentially. Well, we don't know exactly what's in the jungle juice. We don't know what's in it yet. But yeah, you basically have two sides building their own weaponry. You have Silco with this. And I guess the magic is kind of addictive in its own right, because once you have it, you kind of want to... You want to experiment. You want to see just how far you can take it. Yeah, and that's what Heimerdinger's afraid of. He's like, let's not. They've already proven that higher level of energy equals more stability. So what happens if we make like this giant weapon that uses a whole lot of power? Yeah, that's what we don't know the limits of this yet. I'm assuming that's what this series is going to... Don't spoil me. That's what the series is going to be doing. That's what Heimerdinger is afraid of. Right. He's seen what large concentrations of magic can do. Right, because he had that flashback where he told the counselor, he's like, I've seen this in action, it's not good. And you've had the other counselor who said, my species were wiped out, because of it. Right. Oh God. This series... I'm at the point, I've got it paused here where Vi is like in the cellar and there's the red tones. The animation in this series is so gorgeous. It's so good. And it's beautiful. But like the animation's so good. But then like the transitions, like when it transitions, there's a transition with Milo in here where it's like it goes from one thing back to Zahn. And the transitions are so well done. Like, the animation's gorgeous in it. But yeah, Jayce and Viktor are the most adorable, precious cinnamon bun characters ever. I love them. They're perfect. They're just... Viktor doesn't understand Crank It. No. But I just love Jayce as like this young whippersnapper with all these ideas, and Victor's so innocent. But they're perfect. Like, their chemistry's so good. And they're just like perfectly compatible with one another. It's like, great. It's like Sheldon and Leonard. If Sheldon and Leonard were a couple. I mean, as a friendship. Yeah, as a friendship, and but... work ethics. I mean, one of them's practical theory, and the other one's just a theorist. True, yeah, he's a physicist, yeah. But they're like... shipping it hardcore. It's like when they were doing the floaty thing and the Heimerdinger's looking at him and I'm like, really? Seriously? Like, they're so great. I like that Jayce is so, like, antsy and, like, he's got, like, puppy dog energy. Like, he's so antsy and, like, eager to do things. And Viktor kind of stabilizes him. Viktor's like, let's calm down. Let's think about this. Like, I love it. The scenes we got of Viktor and Jayce were perfect levity in this, because what's happening down Zahn is, like, heavy as hell. It's just crazy. And poor Echo! So Echo doesn't have Benzo anymore. He's by himself. So really, I mean, don't spoil me, obviously, because we're going to watch episode 4 here soon. But, not today, but we're going to watch it soon. But, like, Echo is off by himself. Echo doesn't have anybody. Because... Echo's all alone now. Yeah, Echo's all alone, which Powder's with Silco, Vi was taken by Marcus. And everybody else is dead! Yeah. Everybody else is dead! Yeah, Vi was taken by Marcus, Silco's got Powder, and Echo, it's kind of funny, his name is Echo, and it's like, you speak, and Echo is when nothing else calls back, it's just your voice coming back. So, he's all by himself, that's so sad. And then you got this warehouse, where obviously he's been working on all of this stuff for a long time.
Yeah, this was not an overnight thing. This like whole mass production of the purple jungle juice is like the Bane juice is not something that just happened.
Then again, they were able to get it to work with the rat, and once that worked, all you have to do is just recreate the recipe.
Yeah, I mean, once they figured out the right formula, they just redid it. Yeah.
Unlike with the Hex Tech, where you gotta be able to stabilize that core or it blows up and kills you.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you got the Hex Techs versus the Bane juice, as far as we know. Because, yeah, once you figure out the one formula, it's pretty easy to mass produce, right? As they show, they just cranking out vial after vial. But the Hex Tech is so unstable, and it's such a more powerful thing. And don't spoil me! I know you got that look on your face.
I just want to correct you on what it's called.
Nope, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I know the comment section is probably not doing the same thing here.
No.
As a fan, I have
to. Nope. It'll come out. We're on episode 3. We're a third of the way through. It'll come out. It'll be fine. Nope. It'll be fine. It's all good. So, okay, this whole thing with Silco and Vander, though, the idea of the two brothers, that they were going to work together to make Zon, like, free, to raise them up, to be on the same level as Piltover. And I'm assuming that we'll probably get more backstory on it later on, especially since Silco's still alive, that we'll get more about it. But the idea that Silco's mad because not only did Vander betray him, but he also sold himself out basically to Piltover and just made the deal with Grayson and them. And he's like, you sold yourself out, you became a sellout. And Vander's like, that's what I had to do to survive. And basically Silco's like, survival's not enough. It's not enough for Silco just to survive. He wants to, grow. Because he's a scientist, it makes sense. You're not satisfied with staying stagnant. You want to keep growing and evolving and becoming better. The violence necessary for change. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this whole thing here, again, I wanted to go back here, and here's the thing. Okay, when your blood mixes with, I love the 2D animation mixed with the 3D, like the smoke and the blood and everything with the eyeball. Again, and the toxins eating through your nerves, all of that. So, real quick, and I don't want to... Attack on Titan spoilers. Attack on Titan spoilers. So for the next 30 seconds, Attack on Titan Season 4 spoilers for the next 30 seconds. When he's giving this speech to Vander about an understanding, the hate left me and all I was left with an understanding. All I could think about was the only way to defeat a superior enemy is to stop at nothing and become what they fear. All I could think of was Eren in Declaration of War and going against Marley. That's like literally all I could think of because I'm watching that at the same time. So when he was giving that speech, I was like, oh, that's just like Eren in Attack on Titan Season 4. Where I'm at, right? So around episode 5. So, yeah, end of Attack on Titan spoilers. I just had to bring that up real quick. But yeah, Silco's discussion is very similar to that. So, Shimmer. Is that the name of it? Yes or no?
That's the name of that drug.
Okay, so the purple juice in this particular moment is called Shimmer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll call it Shimmer. This particular one.
Yeah.
Yes, Shimmer. Okay. All right. I'm sure that there's different variations, etc. We'll get into that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Or there's a general thing to call it.
Okay. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But yeah. But this one's called Shimmer. And so we can finally realize our dream. Brother. And yeah, so at the moment where he says brother, that should have been a setup that that Vi and Powder... But who would have... I never would have guessed that Powder would have been the one responsible for Milo and Clagger's death and for all that going out. Like, I would never have...
She's a jinx.
She is a jinx. Yeah, Vi says she's a jinx. And going back to what Milo said, too. I just... Yep. At that line, you die for the cause, but you won't fight for one. That was such a good line. I was like, oh my gosh, that was great. You die for the cause, but you won't fight for one. Poor Vander. I felt for Vander in this because he's just trying to protect those kids, and he's like Silco doesn't understand. He's like, Vander's not just fighting for himself anymore. He has those kids that he wants to protect and keep safe, and so that changes the reasons why he does things. So I'm curious. Obviously, I don't want you to spoil me, but I'm curious. Silco, having Powder with him, she's a little kid, like what that dynamic is going to be like. But I'm assuming we're going to find out very soon, so. And then we go back to Heimerdinger and that whole thing with the lab. Mel is interesting. Old Mel Medarda. She is an interesting character. When she showed up on the scene here, I like that Viktor says, this isn't my bedroom. I was like, really? Really trying to sneak Jayce in your bedroom, huh? See how it goes? See how it is? But Mel is interesting that I'm not surprised that she lets them do this. I'm not surprised she lets them go because she seems kind of greedy. She wants the hex tech and all the stuff for herself. She's like, oh, we could innovate this and make revenue off of it, monopolize it. What? Sure thing. She seems like, as far as morals go, she's like, I don't know if there's she's a good character. I feel like she's okay, but she's very greedy. She wants things that are going to benefit her. And as long as they're doing stuff that's going to benefit her, she's okay with it. That's what she seems like. Yeah. Because she lets them have this night in the lab to prove their worth. Or she's like, get out. And I like it. I like everybody just kind of like does what she says. I like she instantly turns the guard around. Okay. And then, yeah, man, Vi using the gauntlets of Vander's, that was such a scene. But, oh my God, this breakdown with Powder, she had a mental breakdown because she got left by them. And seeing just how upset Vi is, it tore him apart. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so yeah, we cut from Powder being left to Jayce and Viktor cranking it with the tech like you do. And I love that look when Jayce is like, maybe we can stabilize it, and Viktor's like, maybe. I don't know if it'll work or not. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. But yeah, gosh, I love this. And just cutting back and forth too. But oh my gosh, yeah, Powder just having a meltdown. The animation on her face and everything as she's just losing it was so good. And then you can tell it makes sense now. When she had the monkey, the gears were turning in her head, and she was like seeing the monkey and being like, oh, putting two and two together. She sees the little orbs and the monkey, and she's like, I could put them together. The explosion. You see the gears turning in her head in that moment. And I didn't realize that until looking back at this, that she gets the idea, the light bulb of how she can help them. That didn't click the first time. And it all adds up. I love how tight the narrative is here because, yeah, it's easy for them to get in. And at the time I was like, man, that was easy. That wasn't hard. And then you find out it was all a trap. But the double edge of that is that it was easy for them to make it a trap, but then it becomes easy for Powder because she's a little kid and she doesn't put two and two together that it's a trap either. So, oh my gosh. And yeah, the duality of the little orb being a source of destruction with Powder and the orb being a source of creation with Jayce and Viktor is really... I get a lot of, and I know it's driving you crazy because you can't spoil me, but I get a lot of parallel with Viktor and Silco. Like I see they're both two characters that kind of have similar physical structures. I know Viktor has the physical handicap, but they both have similar structures. They're both intellectuals. They're both scientists that are trying to discover and do more. They both strike me as similar characters, but on opposite ends of the spectrum. They're both like parallels, like mirrors of each other, if that makes sense. And so I'm going to be curious to know, because Caitlyn's tied in with Jayce, and she's still in the story. So I'm going to be curious if like Caitlyn and them get involved in the adventures with Silco and Powder and with Vi and Mark. Because everything's connected, right? I know, my brother is smiling and not saying a word, but he's just smiling. But I'm seeing, like, you have Marcus and Vi, who are kind of like the midway point, right? You have Caitlyn and you have Viktor and Jayce on one end in the posh Piltover. You have Silco and Powder in the slums. And then you have Vi and Marcus kind of in the middle ground. So I'm like, okay. And then Echo's over there with Silco. So I'm seeing there's pieces being laid out on the map, and I'm seeing it, and you're smiling. I don't know, but that's just what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the pieces, because we're leaving one act and going into the next act. So I'm seeing the setup of Act 1, where we have where the pieces are when this episode ended. We see where the pieces are, and Deckard's dead, right? Vander crushed him, right? Deckard's did DAD, right? And most of these guys are. The one girl, she died, didn't she? The girl that had the haircut that jumped in front of Silco to save him, she's dead, right?
No.
Oh, no, she just had her arm blasted off. Okay, yeah, because it just got her arm. When you saw the light of the explosion, you could see her arm going off.
Her arm disintegrating.
Yeah, but she's still alive.
Which is another reason why Heimerdinger didn't want to mess with magic.
Yes! Yeah, that was crazy because just like the orb, when Jayce and Viktor activate it, it reacts a certain way. But when Powder activates it, it like does all sorts of things. It makes her arm disintegrate. It like destroys the rubble. It does all different things.
Well, they were stabilizing it. Her whole thing was destabilizing.
Yes, it did the opposites. Yeah, they were controlling it, and hers was just letting it loose. Right? So yeah, I like that. Again, you have Silco and Powder over here with the destruction in. You have Jayce and Viktor over here with like the creation in. So it's parallels. It's so good, but this whole Vi put up such a fight. I was proud of her. She held her own with those gauntlets. Did she take the gauntlets with her? I don't.
She lost one of them.
She lost one of them, yeah. But yeah.
Marcus took her before she could get the gauntlets.
That's right. Okay. But yeah, and this fight scene, one thing I did appreciate was that it wasn't just like she didn't fight one person at a time. They all kind of came at her together. Which, you have a fight scene sometimes where they fight them like one person at a time. You're like, why didn't you just... Which they're on a bridge, so that limits their movement a little bit. But it makes sense. But they make it as realistic as possible with this fight. And then I love Vander telling Milo, you can do this. Like telling him to take a breath and being so fatherly. Ugh.
They got that guy...
Oh. I was just waiting for like a Wilhelm scream. That would have been a perfect Wilhelm scream moment where he topples off the bridge like, ah! And then, yeah, Claggor. I'm so sad that Milo and Claggor are dead, that Vander's dead. Like, half these people are dead. Mm-hmm. The moment they killed Grayson, I was like, oh, we're not afraid to kill people in this show. No. We're not afraid to do that. Okay, cool. But, God, and the animation, everything was so good here. Like, the expressions and Silco just watching... Yeah, and this girl, yeah, she steps in and he tells her no. So she's like the main bodyguard. Okay. And you can tell in that moment, yeah. So this makes sense too. Silco is seeing Vander in her, like watching her fight. He's seeing how much Vander's taught her and he can see it. So when that makes even more sense why when he sees Powder, he kind of resonates with her and understands how she feels. And so he sees himself in Powder. Interesting. But yeah... God. And then Heimerdinger showing up. I love it.
His little fast walk.
His little fast walk. He's like, yes, get out of here. But yeah, I love it. So they did the little transporting of the gear through that, and they're just floating in the air, doing their beautiful ballet.
At least those two had enough sense to put something on the door.
Right. Yeah. It's like Viktor and Jayce are these amazing scientists, but they also share a brain cell. There's moments I'm like, okay, boys. But I love that Jayce gets the inspiration from the mage. Like, he gets the inspiration from that moment, and that encourages him. I love it. And yeah, I love this. The blue is so pretty. And then of course, Heimerdinger has the very Jurassic Park-esque. It's not a question of whether we could, it's a question of whether we should, and they kind of just cut him off. But, oh my gosh, I love it. So much being set up here of what could happen with these characters, like them discovering the magic and utilizing it, and Silco and Powder, like all of this being, I love it. And then Heimerdinger being like, you actually did it. I mean, just because it can be done doesn't mean, yeah. Stop hovering. Stop with your...
Stop with your unscientific shenanigans.
Yes, with your magic shenanigans. This is not what Piltover's future looks like. And then Mel's like, maybe. If I have anything to say about it. Mm-hmm. The era of magic. And he's like, copyright infringement, the era hex. We're gonna make sure this is trademarked. And then we cut straight from that to Powder putting in, she put in 2 orbs. I was like, I guess you want to make sure it worked, but make sure it did something, but God.
I think she put all of them except for that one in there. Oh,
okay. And then, yeah, oh, God. it's just the tension of it all. And I love that it cut back and forth. Like each time it clapped on the stone, it did a different thing. And it cut from each different thing. That was so well done.
Well, it was the same clap at the end, the explosion.
It just showed what all happened simultaneously. Yeah. What all happened simultaneously. Yeah. I honestly thought for a hot second, I thought Powder died. For a hot second. When she fell off the bridge, I was like, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Catwoman from Batman Returns. It reminded me of, the moment where Michelle Pfeiffer falls out the window, and when he kicks her out the window, and she's just like has this wide, creepy-eyed stare, and she falls on her back, and all the cats surround her. That's what it reminded me of in the moment. I was like, God, she looked kind of like Catwoman when she fell out the window. Which, kind of, same thing. You had a good character that fell out the window. Michelle Pfeiffer character falls out the window and gets reborn as a villain. And in this, she falls out the window and Silco took her in, so maybe getting reborn as a villain? I don't know. Oh my gosh. And yeah, so most of the Shimmer's destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And then the scientist guy died. Well, yeah. maybe he didn't. We don't know. Who knows? We'll find out. But yeah, the 2D and 3D in this was blended really well. I like it. But yeah, showing just... Oh, God, and that just sliced through Clagger.
Yeah, see, that's one of the orbs.
Oh, one of the orbs that hit that. Ugh.
It got shot out, and then it finally exploded inside the room.
Yeah, and then poor Milo getting, impaled and then crushed.
So if she had just used the one on the string, it might have been enough.
Oh, but because she put the other in there.
But she really wanted it to work.
Yeah, see, when she falls out the window there... reminds me, she looks like a rag doll.
Well, she's also seeing all those magic particles around her, and she thinks it worked. It finally worked.
Yeah, she finally gets something to work, and it just is the worst possible thing. But, so then, yeah, that's Marcus, right? That was Marcus?
Yeah.
And that's when he saw the explosion, so he went to go get them. Yeah, poor Powder. Girl.
Because don't forget, the council still wants his pound of flesh.
Oh! They still want somebody responsible. I forgot about that. So don't spoil me, but I'm like, Vi is the one that's left.
She's the only one left witnesses saw.
Oh, yeah, because Echo wasn't with them.
Echo wasn't with them, and they were running through that town, enforcers on their heels.
Oh,
with her hood down.
Yes, so, oh, God. Well, crap. I forgot that the council still wanted somebody to be responsible. I forgot about that. And all this madness that happened this episode, I forgot the council's still going to want somebody. Even if Grayson's dead, even if Marcus is injured, they're still going to want somebody to take responsibility.
Even if they prove that X-Tech can be made, somebody's still got to take responsibility for a magic attack.
Yeah, the original attack's still going to have somebody bear responsibility for it. So I forgot about that. So yeah, basically, Marcus could very well be turning Vi in the next episode because he's like, you're the only one left that can take responsibility. Everybody else is dead. Unless the only thing I think of, don't confirm or deconfirm it, but the only thing I can think of is if they say it's Vander and he died during the explosion, they're like, well, it was him, so we're gonna turn him in, but he's dead now. So I guess I don't know. That's.
None of the enforcers that were chasing them saw a large man.
True. They want a kid. Yeah, because that does make sense, because when Vander said he was going to turn him... But Vander was going to turn himself in. They were going to take him. So by that, though...
They would have, but the reports were...
Right, but then why did he even try to turn himself in?
He could have said, I'm the one who ordered it to happen.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Maybe Marcus will be like, Vander ordered them to do it, and he's dead now, so you got what you wanted, right? I don't know. I don't know. So Marcus could turn her in, but I'm like, will you really do that, Marcus? Would he really do? He probably would really do that. He probably would really do that. Because he's that person. But I'm like, surely not. Someone needs to adopt Vi. Save her from being... Yeah, now that you mention it, the council wants somebody to be responsible. Crud. We'll shoot. Darn it. God, this episode was really good. This episode was really good. Poor Vander's dead. I'm really sad. Like, Vander was one of my favorites, and even though I suspected he was going to die, I was like, surely he won't. And then, he saves Vi. That scene where... Okay, so let's go back to the scene. So, Powder showing up and being like, it worked! Look, I did it! And I'm like, girl, you're a little kid. Read the room. There's like flaming fire all around you. And then Vi's like, excuse me? And Powder trying to figure out what's going on.
See, she's standing in the way of his face.
Right.
All she can see is a massing hulk of flesh.
Right, but
she looks like the Deckard guy.
Right, and that's why I wondered if she was confusing him with Deckard. She sees Clagger's goggles and everything, and she doesn't quite get it. But I was like, surely when she turned... I guess Silco's like, don't turn around and look at the body and realize it's Vander. But he is, like, warped because of the shimmer, so she probably wouldn't recognize him unless she really looked. Because she doesn't know the context of the shimmer being used. She doesn't know what that's like. And she's a little kid. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah, but oh my god, like her nose bleeding. Oh, and then so I wondered why she looked down at her hand, but she looked down at her hand because Powder, like her nose bled onto her hand, and she saw that she was like, oh god, like you could see like her sister being hurt. And then this part here, well, Vi's like so frustrated, and she's like, I just need to walk it off because you've pissed me off, because Vi realizes everything has happened. She's like, I just need some space. And and then Powder freaks out, like any little kid would, because she doesn't understand everything that Vi's going through either. And Marcus takes her away before she can do anything. So sinister. Oh my gosh. And she can't see Violet. She can't see Vi, not Violet. She can't see Vi from there. And then
with his dapper looking suit.
I know, but then for a second Silco's gonna kill her, but he doesn't. He doesn't kill her. He asks her where her sister is, and that's what gets Powder to say, she's not my sister anymore. And then it makes sense because assuming that Marcus takes her back to Piltover, takes Vi back, Powder wouldn't see her anymore, so she probably does think that Vi abandoned her and doesn't realize that Vi was going to go back to get her, but Marcus took her away, and she doesn't know that. So she probably does think Milo and Clagger are dead, Vander's dead, so Vi has abandoned her supposedly, so of course...
her last words were, you're a jinx, Milo was right.
Yeah, and that was a trigger for Powder to be like, not being wanted, that she was unwanted. And so, and then she just wants somebody to comfort her, and the only person to comfort her just happens to be Silco. The worst person to do that. Ugh. And I like that all of his, like, lackeys look at him like, what is he going to do? And he's like, what, this kid's tugging me? Okay. And then he realizes that Vander's dead. And then when she says, she's not my sister anymore, I think that's the moment that changes Silco's mind from killing her to being like, we could use you. We could use you, small child. Because he drops the knife, and they're all waiting to see what he does. And he takes her in and hugs her. And that sign, like, it's okay. Yeah. We'll show them. That's so sinister. Like, him relating to her in that moment. Oh my gosh. And the guy's carrying the woman without the arm. So end of Act 1. Fun times. Fun times all around. So okay. Alright. Well, that was really good. That was really good. So, so we finished Act 1, Episode 3. Next episode's going to start a new act. Second act. Perfect 3-act structure. We end the first we introduce ourselves to all the main characters. We get out the characters that don't matter anymore. That will probably come back and be influential in spirit later on. And we've got the main conflict set up. We got the two different types, the magic of the underground, the magic of the rich city, and we're going to do something together with them next episode or start that train. So, Curious. So, this was a great episode. This is my favorite so far. I liked it a lot. But yeah, anything else to add? No? So, all right. Well, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please, no spoilers. But I'm curious to know your thoughts and your comments. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, we'll be back next week with episode 4 of Arcane.